The girl was invited to a part-time job caring for an elderly person. It turned out to be a treacherous trap. In this video, we will tell you what really happened. On June 1st, 2012, the life of the small town of Tullahoma, Tennessee, changed forever. Young student Megan Sharpton went to a job interview and disappeared without a trace. The next day, her body was found in a field, and the police began an investigation that turned out to be one of the most complex and emotionally challenging in the town's history. Megan was not just a student. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and she dreamed of becoming a nurse to help people. Her disappearance and subsequent murder left a deep mark on the hearts of everyone who knew her. But how did it happen? Who could commit such a heinous crime? And how did surveillance cameras become the key to solving this case? Megan Sharpton was born on October 24, 1987, in Tullahoma. She grew up in a large, close-knit family with two sisters and a brother. From an early age, Megan helped her parents care for the younger children, and in school, she decided she wanted to become a nurse. She enrolled at Motlow State Community College and worked as a waitress to pay for her education. Megan was hardworking and determined. She dreamed of helping people and even took a job at a nursing home to gain practical experience. Her life was full of plans for the future, but everything ended one evening. Megan was close to her mother, and it was her she called that fateful day to say she would be late because of the interview. She was excited about the opportunity to get a new job caring for an elderly woman, but no one could have guessed that this would be her last phone call. On June 1st, Megan called her mother and said she would be late. She promised her mother that she would return home as soon as she was done. However, time passed, and there was no news from her. Her parents began to worry. They contacted her boyfriend, Chris, but he also knew nothing. The next day, Megan still hadn't returned, and her body was found in a field several kilometers from town. The police immediately realized it was a murder. Megan's body was discovered by a group of teenagers who noticed a fire in the field. When firefighters arrived at the scene, they found the body of a girl lying at the center of the flames. The police determined that Megan had been killed before the fire started. The cause of death was a gunshot wound to the back of the head. From the very beginning, the investigation was challenging. Megan had no identification or phone on her, and her body was severely burned. The only clue was two small star-shaped tattoos. The first suspect was Megan's boyfriend, Chris. Megan's sister stated that the couple had relationship problems and suggested he might be involved in the murder. However, Chris had an alibi. He was at work at the time of the murder. Meanwhile, the police found Megan's car, a red Mustang, abandoned in a remote area. There were no signs of a struggle inside, but a note with a non-existent address was found. This led detectives to believe that the killer had lured Megan into a trap by offering her a job. The police also turned their attention to a neighbor of Megan and Chris. The young man admitted to using illegal substances but denied any involvement in the murder. He also revealed that he had started dating Megan after she broke up with Chris. However, he didn't have a solid alibi, and the police took his DNA for analysis. Meanwhile, Chris told detectives about a mysterious call that had come to Megan's old phone on the day of her disappearance. A man who introduced himself as an employer said that Megan had been recommended to him by someone named Naomi. The police began searching for Naomi, but she claimed that she barely knew Megan and definitely hadn't recommended her for any job. The breakthrough that ultimately led to solving the case came from surveillance footage. The police traced the call made to Megan's phone back to a prepaid phone purchased at a local store. The cameras captured the buyer who had purchased the phone. investigators identified the man as Timothy Gifford, a small-time criminal involved in the illegal drug trade. Timothy revealed that he had bought the phone for his acquaintance, Donnie Frank. Donnie was known to the police as an informant but also had a criminal past. The police began to suspect that he might be involved in Megan's murder. Donnie Frank turned out to be the husband of Naomi, the same woman who allegedly recommended Megan for the job. The police started to suspect that Donnie had used his wife's name to lure Megan into a trap. However, they had no direct evidence linking him to the crime. When the police arrived at Donnie's home with a search warrant, he voluntarily provided a DNA sample. He also allowed the officers to search his house without a warrant. During the search of his pickup truck, investigators found a rifle and noticed a strange detail. The interior of the vehicle had been completely refurbished, making it look brand new. When questioned by the police, Donnie explained that a car with a clean interior is easier to sell. Nevertheless, the police arrested Donnie for illegal possession of a firearm, which was prohibited for a former convict, buying them time to gather more evidence linking him to Megan's murder. Meanwhile, the police obtained a warrant to track Donnie's phone calls to trace his movements on the evening of Megan's murder. They also conducted a ballistics examination of the rifle found in Donnie's truck. Soon, forensic experts confirmed that Megan had been shot with a weapon of the same caliber as Donnie's rifle. The detectives obtained a warrant to track Donnie's phone to trace his movements on the evening of Megan's murder. They compared this data with the movements of the prepaid phone that Donnie allegedly never owned. And here, the police finally got the breakthrough they had been waiting for. On the evening of July 1st, the prepaid phone was located near Donnie's phone and followed the same route. At the points of abduction and murder, both phones were in close proximity to Donnie. Forensic experts were able to extract a DNA sample from Megan's body, and it matched Donnie's DNA. It later became clear that he had hoped the fire would destroy all evidence, making it impossible to compare his DNA. However, his hopes were dashed. At trial, Donnie initially denied his guilt, but when he realized he was facing the death penalty, he struck a plea deal with the prosecution. He pleaded guilty to Megan's murder and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Even after the sentencing, Donnie attempted to challenge his confession, claiming he had made it under pressure. However, the court upheld the verdict. During the trial, it also came to light that Donnie had repeatedly contacted other women, offering them jobs caring for elderly people. This confirmed the prosecution's theory that he had used this scheme to lure his victims. Unfortunately, this story did not end with Megan's murder. Her mother, who fought tirelessly for justice, could not cope with her grief and took her own life in November 2013. Donnie Frank could have been stopped earlier. He had a long criminal history, including charges of kidnapping, but he had always managed to evade responsibility. Who knows how many more lives he might have taken if he hadn't been caught? Megan Sharpton was a bright, talented, and kind-hearted young woman who dreamed of helping others. Her death was a tragedy for the entire community, but thanks to the work of the police and surveillance footage, the criminal was caught and punished. This story serves as a reminder of how important it is to remain vigilant and pay attention to strange inconsistencies. After all, the address where Megan was invited for an interview never actually existed. Megan stopped a criminal, but the price she paid was far too high. Her memory will forever remain in the hearts of those who knew and loved her. And that concludes our coverage of this tragic story. If you found this video informative or thought-provoking, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates on cases like these. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to share this video with your friends and give it a thumbs up if you found it valuable. Thank you for watching.